Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're out the range with the new Ruger LCP MAX. This handgun will hold either 10 or 12 rounds of .380 ammunition, and we have some new Federal hollow point ammunition out here that has some pretty big claims. We're going to put those claims to the test using some clear ballistics gelatin. But before we get started with today's video, guys, if you enjoy the content that we produce here at the Military Arms channel, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe, and also hit that notification bell so you guys find out when we post new videos. And also comment down below, helps us with the algorithms, and we love reading those comments. With all that being said, let's get started today with our video talking about the Ruger LCP MAX, the .380 caliber, and does this gun kind of change the game when it comes to .380 caliber pocket pistols? Let's have that conversation. If you guys haven't checked out Primary Arms online, please swing by and check out their website. They have all sorts of inventory that ranges from firearms to accessories, really good prices, fast shipping, outstanding customer support. If you use the code MAC and you purchase a PA branded optic or red dot sight with a magnified optic, you'll get a free scope mount with that MAC code. Or if you pick up a red dot sight or a prism sight, you'll get a free kill flash anti-reflective device. So please check out primaryarms.com. So I've been using .380 ACP as a defensive cartridge for many years. If you go back to, I think it's the earliest or the oldest video on the channel that I haven't deleted, it's just a very short clip of me shooting some bowling pins with a Ruger LCP, a first generation N380. And the whole reason I made that short video clip was because I was having a discussion on a forum. I think it was concealedcarry.com or something like that. It was a forum dedicated to the discussion of concealed carry firearms. And people were talking about how the little Ruger and what it was copied from, in my opinion, the Kel-Tec, they just weren't accurate and you couldn't hit anything with them. And I made that short demonstration to prove them wrong, that you could in fact hit something with these little guns. So I did have one of the early Kel-Tecs. I never had really good luck with it. A friend of mine said he would take it and he wanted to fluff and buff it and try to get it working. But I had moved on when Ruger announced the LCP, and this is an early generation LCP. This gun is very small and is pretty much a straight up knockoff of the Kel-Tec product. It has a single stack magazine. It is a double action pistol, so the weapon is clear, and you'll see that there's a hammer right here in the back. And as I pull the trigger, you'll see that hammer draw back to the rear and then release and fire. However, unlike a more conventional double action revolver or double action single action pistol, there is no second strike capability. So you have to cycle the slide to recock it, even though the hammer's down and requires a double action pull to get it to fire. But I was able to shoot this gun fairly well. Now, it doesn't cock to single action. Every single trigger pull after it cycles is that long, heavy double action pull. And I think that's what people were saying you couldn't hit anything with. And again, I proved that theory wrong. It just was a matter of learning how to shoot the pistol. And then I got my hands on the new Ruger LCP MAX. Now, the LCP has gone through some evolutionary changes from the first gun I showed you here to this gun. They had gotten rid of that double action that required you to pull the hammer all the way to the rear. They went to a semi-cocked hammer. This gun has that as well. It now has an inertial safety on the trigger, which keeps the gun from firing should it be dropped by the weight of its own trigger. I call this the dingus. And it has a double stack magazine that holds either 10 flush fit or 12 that just barely sticks out the bottom of the gun. Now, as the gun ships from Ruger, the LCP MAX only comes with the flush fit magazine. I think the magazines are like $34 for a 12 round magazine. I'm still waiting for them to come in the mail. They're actually pretty hard to find, at least when I went looking for them. So right now I just have this one 10 round magazine, but I have a couple of 12s coming. So this means that this little gun holds 10 plus 1, 11 rounds of .380. They have definitely improved the trigger from the earlier guns. So I can show you this. The trigger pull, you take it up, it's kind of two-stage, it stops right there, push past that, it breaks, and then when it cycles, has a pretty short reset, so it'll reset right there, and then that's full release. It's over 5 pounds, a trigger pull. I put the actual pull weight up for you guys to see, but that's about where I like a defensive carry pistol to be, about 5 pounds of trigger pull. And like Its predecessor, it has that semi-cocked hammer, so you're not pulling the hammer all the way back. It's sitting in there at the semi-cocked position. So then all you have to do is basically draw it back just an ever so slight amount, and then it'll break and fall. But you do have to cycle the slide for the mechanism to reset. It does have a slide stop, slide release. It should lock open on the last shot fired. I find that with an empty mag in it, that I can't get it to lock open, but most of the time it will when I fire the gun. It should lock open on the last shot fired. But if it doesn't, you have a manual slide stop, slide release that you can use on the left-hand side of the gun. The magazine release is something that you can move over to the other side. And if you take a look at the overall dimensions of the gun next to the original, you'll see it's just a little bit thicker because of the grip. But one of the biggest changes and the most valued change is look at the sights. So on the earlier generation of LCPs, you have this very faint front sight and then a notch, a shallow notch machined into the rear of the slide. With the new Max, you have dovetailed sights. You have a great big tritium dot up front, a nice big U notch in the back with serrations that's adjustable for windage. The most amazing sight picture of any pocket pistol that I own. And this gun, because of its size and its thickness, even though I have my pinky dangling, I can still shoot this gun very, very well. It's also flat shooting, so the recoil impulse, a lot of people will say that 380s are really snappy, that they're uncomfortable to shoot. With this Max, not the case. You can shoot this thing all day long, and it's extremely comfortable because this extra surface area in here, it just makes it more ergonomic even for my big hands. So this gun, I think, is probably, in my opinion, after having spent a couple of months with it, the best 380 pocket pistol on the market. I literally carry this thing every day, even when I'm carrying a main handgun, a primary carry. I still have this as a backup because it is so lightweight. It is probably one of the most comfortable pocket carry guns I own, and it does come with a pocket holster with the gun, but I opted for a sticky holster, and this is just a simple pocket holster. And the outside material here is a little bit grabby, so if you're wearing denim, especially like blue jeans, this material will kind of stick. You have this little wing that'll kind of hang up in the pocket material, which will allow you to pull the gun. What's important is that it covers the trigger while it's in your pocket. If you carry a gun like this in a pocket, do not carry anything else in that pocket. Don't carry keys or change or anything like that, even if you have a holster, because you want to avoid having a discharge when you're not expecting it in that pocket. We've been using Clear Ballistics testing gelatin for many years here at the Military Arms channel. It's silicon-based, so it's stable at room temperature. Unlike the FBI organic-based gelatin, it has to be kept at a very specific temperature for it to be accurate. And what we're going for here is not trying to mimic FBI gelatin, but we want consistency in our testing, and the gelatin that Clear Ballistics offers, being silicon-based, is very consistent. So whenever we test different calibers and cartridges, we can use this and get consistent results. So we will always be using this type of stuff. And it goes on sale from time to time. Plus you can reuse it. If you purchase one of their little molds, you can melt this back down and make a fresh new block. So that's why we use this stuff. Anyway, so here's this is an FBI block, which means it's 16 inches in length. And in front of this, I have basically, this is a tool, I believe, that's used for sewing, but it has a grid on it that is 1 inch squares. And then you can see the inch markers like a ruler across the top here. All right, so this thing is 18 inches long. It's a 16-inch long block of gel. So we used 3 different types of ammunition in our testing. We first shot, I believe this is a new load from Federal. It's a 99 grain 380 hollow point that's guaranteed to expand and at least penetrate 12 inches into gelatin to meet FBI standards. FBI standards says that a bullet must penetrate 12 to 18 inches to be the most effective. And so the claim is that this round will do it. Another cartridge that we tested specific load, I should say, is the 68 grain Extreme Defender from Underwood using a Lehigh machined bullet. And then as a control, we fired a 90 grain PMC ball round. All right, so let's first talk about the performance of the Federal hollow point. And it traveled about 12 inches in, but it stretches to 13 inches, and then the bullet bounced back, which is common in this silicon-based test medium because the silicon is more durable than organic gelatin, so it'll stretch and come back. It's a little bit more elastic, I should say, than regular gel. So it bounced in and then kind of came back to rest at 12 inches, but it went just a hair over 13 inches total of penetration, which you can see from the wound channel. Now you can also see, if I tilt this down, if you look at this top track, you can see a blossom, and that blossom comes in right about 8 inches in and continues on to the 12-inch mark or so. Starts right here, about 8 inches, and then that blossom ends where the bullet stretched back and just a little over 12 inches. So it has pretty good stretching going on right here in the gel. It blossoms just a little bit with the stretch cavity where it enters, then it's just a hole, then it blossoms again. The bullet did tumble, and it came to rest backwards right at 12 inches again. So pretty good performance out of that hollow point. That's exactly what Federal claims it will do, and that is most definitely lethal. So the next round that we fired would be the Underwood 68 grain Extreme Defender. Now in 9mm, I love this load, but this has that screwdriver tip type bullet, and that will be this bottom track that you see here. And then the bullet came to rest right here. So if we put up our grid, you can see that the bullet traveled right at about 14 inches of depth. It didn't have as much stretching going on in its wound cavity. It blossomed just a little bit here, maybe 3/4 of an inch. This blossom on this is about 1.25 inches on the Federal. It barely see any bloom at all. And then the bullet once again comes to rest backwards, so it tumbled. And then the last test that we did would be with the 90 grain PMC ball round. Which looks like that, just a good old-fashioned ball round. And that is this middle track, which is really, literally nothing but a line. You see a little bit of a bloom here. Perhaps the bullet started to tumble. Right at, looks like it starts to tumble right at maybe 11 inches, 11.5 inches. And then it goes on. It clears the 16 inches and goes another 2 inches into the catch block that we had behind it, which is some old gel we used in a previous test. So it penetrated a total of about 18 inches, but it just left a pinhole all the way through for the most part. And that goes back to what I used to say about 380. If I don't know anything about, or I haven't tested a hollow point or something like the Extreme Defender, if I've not done my own personal testing, I'll default to a ball round, because a ball round I know will dig in deep enough to deliver a lethal blow. Basically, when you're trying to defend yourself, what you're trying to do is make that person stop attacking you. And to do that, you have to basically hit them in the central nervous system or poke a hole in something they need to live and cause them to bleed out. And you can only do that if the bullet will travel deep enough. And so the 380 ball round will definitely travel deep enough, but it's less than ideal. You'll notice that what gave us the best performance was in fact the Federal hollow point. It made it to that 12, a little over 12 inches of penetration, but out of all 3 rounds, it gave us the most stretch cavity that you can see there. So it would have done more damage to the soft tissue than the other 2 rounds that we did our testing with. So this has been the load that I've been carrying in the LCP MAX. That's cool. So the obvious question is, why carry a 380 pocket pistol when 9mm pocket pistols exist like this SIG P365? And I do carry the XL version of this quite often. I like the gun quite a bit after they've gone through their evolutionary changes. Well, the reason is, well, first of all, they're pretty close to the same size, right? You will find that the double stack LCP is still thinner, and it also has a slightly shorter barrel and slide, has as good or better sights than the factory SIG sights. But the biggest difference between these two is this isn't much of a pocket pistol. This is a heavy gun, and it has to be because of the 9mm chambering. So this does carry 10 rounds with a flush fit magazine of 9mm, and this carries 10 rounds of ammunition with its flush fit magazine as well. But the biggest difference is this thing is a featherweight as compared to this, and it also has a slightly shorter barrel. So this gun will disappear into a pocket, be very comfortable to carry. This you could stick in a pocket, but it's going to be heavier, a little bit thicker, and you're going to notice that it's there. So the 380 still has that appeal, and that appeal being a slight size advantage and definitely a weight advantage. Now, the features of the LCP are that, you know, obviously it has this double stack magazine. The texturing is really good on it. It's not too aggressive, but it's good enough to where you get a nice, good grip on it. The gun sets nice and deep in your hand. The trigger pull is actually pretty good, and it has outstanding sights. You have serrations both forward and aft on the slide, and you do have that slide lock and slide release. Now, it should lock open on the last shot fired. I have mixed results. I've been trying to figure out if it's the way that I hold the gun. I make a conscious effort to make sure that my thumb isn't in the way, and many times it just simply won't lock open. As a matter of fact, right now, magazine's fully inserted. If I pull the magazine all the way to the rear, it doesn't lock open, but if I fire around, sometimes it will, sometimes it won't, and that's one of the biggest dings that I can give to the gun. They've also redesigned the slide stop, slide release a little bit, where it sticks out just a bit more than the earlier version of the LCP. But if you hold the gun in such a way that your thumb stays away from it, it should lock open. The sights on this thing, though, are amazing. So it's a very flat shooting gun, very controllable gun. It doesn't hurt to shoot. It's not snappy like some of the other 380s out there, and I attribute that to the large surface area of the grip. And then again, those sights are just simply world class. And so, great price, small, very lightweight, and an outstanding gun that, again, you can reverse this magazine catch to be used for left-hand operation, although you won't have a slide stop, slide release over there. Magazines are available. And field stripping this thing, there's a billion videos out there already talking about the LCP and how to field strip it. This gun is no different. It's just like its predecessors. You just have a simple pin that you pull out, take it apart. It's a simple Browning action. So overall, this handgun, when I first learned of it, I thought, Then I got my hands on it, started shooting it, and I thought, okay, I'm liking this thing. I shot it more, and now I find this thing in my front pocket all the time. Even if I'm carrying a larger handgun as my primary carry, this is still going with me as a backup, and I don't generally carry a backup gun. That's how comfortable this little guy is. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video today and enjoyed the discussion about the new LCP MAX from Ruger. Also hope you enjoyed the data that we collected with regards to the ballistics gel. And if you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms channel so we can continue to bring you content like this, please consider becoming part of our Patreon family. In the age of demonetization, we rely on our viewing audience to continue our operations. There is a link down below. You get perks such as direct access to me. I answer all private communications. You'll get early access to videos like this. And we also have some other perks that you'll find out about as well if you become one of our Patreon supporters. Again, the link is down below. Also, right here on YouTube, you got that little join button underneath the video player you're watching right now. Mash that join button and consider supporting us here on YouTube. And last but not least, guys, please swing by and check out coppercustom.com. Thank you for 13 years of support, and we'll talk to you guys soon.